Hello and welcome back to the NBA DFS Slate Breakdown for Friday, November 17th. We're going to be going over today's 11-game slate and some lower-owned guys that I like, go over the higher-owned guys, and talk a little bit about the immense amount of injury news. Now, before we get into it, come join us at LineStar. It is only $39.99 per month. That is the best deal in DFS and prop betting. For this low price, you get all of our DFS stuff, all of our prop betting for all sports we cover, one low price. Now let's get into this. All right. I'm going to flip it over to FanDuel because that is where I've liked players today, and we will go over some stuff here. A lot to go over. A lot of different stuff going on. We will start by doing a quick injury status. Watch the Knicks. RJ Barrett, questionable. He's missed the last 2 days. Milwaukee Bucks. Giannis missed the last game. Not totally sure what's going to happen with him today. With the Hornets, some interesting stuff. Brandon Miller and Gordon Hayward are questionable. But also Miles Bridges is back and can play for the Hornets. The coach has said that he will likely take a significant role right away. Not totally sure what that means, but it is something to consider. For the Celtics, once again, Brown and Porzingis are questionable. Toronto Raptors, Anunoby and Trent are both questionable. Trent did, however, go through shoot-around this morning, so I'd say he probably plays. Same old things for the Pistons, with the one caveat being that Bagley is questionable and was not wearing a starter's jersey in practice this morning. Kyle Knox was and may be starting. Does make Stewart a lot more interesting at center there. Garland and Mitchell are both questionable. Garland missed last game, so need to watch out there. Joel Embiid likely plays. He's been questionable for a couple days, but keeps playing. And then Vassal's out again. Suggs is questionable. Fultz is out. Carter's still out. And DeRozan is questionable. DeRozan, but I do think DeRozan probably plays today. CJ McCollum's still out. Anthony Davis and LeBron James both, on the injury situation. Not totally sure what's happening there with them. And then Malcolm Brogdon and Scoot Henderson still out. Bradley Beal missed last game. Not sure if he's going to play. And that will do it. But needless to say, it's pretty much almost every single game today has some sort of injury situation that will change the slate. So I am giving my picks now. Understand, I do like them, but the ownership is probably going to drastically change throughout the day. And my liking for them may change depending on what happens as far as ownership. Now, starting off with point guard, highest owned is Melton, Ball, and Mays. Don't mind Melton. He has played significant minutes again the last 2 days, but this is after a stretch of him playing, 26 to 30. So is it a change going back to Melton, or, was he just playing well and got extra minutes? I tend to think it was just him playing well and getting extra minutes. Put up 30 versus the Pacers, 16 and 7 rebounds versus Boston last time out. So I do think he was just playing well and got some more minutes, and his price is up a little bit higher because of that. So I don't love Melton, and I'm fine to get off this chalk. I think there are some other places to go. LaMelo Ball, look, he is getting a ton of usage. If Hayward and Miller are out again, his usage goes up, so I understand why you want to go here. But with Miles Bridges back and in this matchup, I don't feel like we need to go there. I'm not getting there much, but I get it. Skylar Mays, I think his price is getting up there to a point where there's not much ceiling left. Now, I don't mind going to him, and I'm going to have a little bit, but I'm just going to make sure I don't go overboard here as long as he is a chalkier piece. Jalen Brunson, keep talking about him, slate in and slate out, and his ownership just hasn't really got there. Once again, I like him. He's in a very good matchup. Probably have a lot of them. We got a 5-score alert score, 14% owned. I think he's in a good spot, so I will absolutely be playing him. Kobe White's another one I'm going to have some of. I think this Chicago situation against Orlando is one that's interesting. White has been playing a solid amount of minutes. You know, he's routinely right around 32. And this is a spot where I think he can do well, especially if Jalen Suggs is out, because that will hurt the Magic's defense. But I think White is in a decent spot to be able to hit value and give us some extra points. Now, on the other side, we got Cole Anthony. Now, we've been talking about him for a couple slates now. This is the thing. Super risky. Not totally sure his minutes, but Fultz is out. Suggs is questionable. If Suggs is out, Cole Anthony is going to play a ton of minutes, and I think he's somebody you absolutely need to consider if he is playing all those excess minutes. As it is now, if Suggs is in, I still don't mind Anthony. He is a guy that is a good fantasy point per minute player. We just need to luck into more of the 28 minutes than the 22. He did 27 points in 22 minutes. And with that type of output, there's, possibility of a ceiling game. He's going to be low owned. Don't go overboard. He is extremely risky. Unless he is starting, then I like him a lot more because those minutes are going to be a little more of a sure thing. Cade Cunningham, look, this guy has 50-point upside. It's in an okay matchup versus the Cavs. Garland is questionable. He's missed a game or two. Mitchell got a little banged up. I bet Mitchell plays, though, as he has been on an injury tag a couple times over the last week or two, but just keeps playing. Now, the thing here with Cunningham is he had a couple tough matchups, didn't do that much, and matchups are starting to get a little bit better for him. They're going to be in this game, and he has a 50-point ceiling. And if the Pistons are able to win or stay close in a game that has, is a 9-point spread, I think that it is largely because of Cade Cunningham. Next, I like a lot of Utah today, especially Jordan Clarkson. There's a spot we've been on the last 3 days, and I think I'm going right back here. Super high total with Keaton George taking over point. Clarkson's had the ball in his hand a lot more, and he's really been producing with that, and I am absolutely fine to go back to Clarkson at this price. So, let's get over to DraftKings, check out the higher owned players there. We got Sexton, Gordon, and Skylar Mays. Eric Gordon, look, he's cheap, but with Booker back, with Beal possibly back, I just have a very, very hard time going there. With all those guys back, he's more of a 0.65 fantasy per minute guy than, 0.8 or 1.0 type with the extra usage. So I just don't see much ceiling at his price with everybody back. So I'll probably go somewhere else. Sexton, like Cole Anthony, he's a guy that gets it done quick, and I don't mind going there. It's just risky. He played 18 minutes, then he played 28. Played 16, 17, his normal is right around that 16 to 20. You will need him to get extra minutes and produce for him to really succeed. And if he is high owned, I'm probably off. So then let's get over to shooting guard. So we got Sexton, Gordon, Mays still there. We just went over them, so we will not go further into that on DraftKings. And get over to where I have some liked players. Keontae George. Look, I think at 4,900, he is just too cheap. He is playing super well. He has 3 games at this salary or 2 games in a row where he is almost 6x. He's playing 30 minutes a game or right around that. He's in a decent spot, super high scoring game. I think that you have to consider him. He's just playing well and he's deserving of these minutes right now. And if his shot's falling, then, there's the possibility of a ceiling game there. KCP, look, at 4,500 on FanDuel, he's just too cheap. On DraftKings, I'm probably not getting there. But it is a guy that is going to play a lot of minutes and relatively high-scoring game. And it's a guy that can go over 30 points if that shot is falling. Now, that is a big if, because you don't know how many shots he's going to get. But right now, as it stands, there's not a ton of value out, and he is one that I'm going to get there. Now, if value opens up, he's probably one of the first guys I am not going to play anymore, just because, his ceiling is a little bit capped. And we talked about everybody else, so let's move it over to small forward. Jeremy Grant, Shaden Sharp, Lauri Markkanen. I love some Markkanen. I'm not shying away from this spot. Don't like him quite as much as I have other days. Price got up a little bit, but I will still get some. Shaden Sharp, he's fine. I just don't love where his price is these days. He also played a little bit less minutes last game, but he's generally playing as many minutes as he possibly can. He is in a decent matchup, so I will have some, just not overboard. Jeremy Grant is a very similar situation. Last 2 games, 32 and 27 minutes, but before that he was playing, over 40 minutes a game. At 40 minutes a game, 6,800, I love him. At 32 to 34-ish, I don't like him quite as much. So if he is super chalky, I probably won't have a ton of him. Do not mind him, though. Some other spots I'm looking, Kawhi Leonard. Look, Westbrook's going to the bench. Harden's still starting, but it's going to open up a little bit more usage for Leonard. So I think he's very interesting at only 8K. It's not a bad spot versus Houston. We know Kawhi's skills and upside. So I think taking some shots at a guy that has a 50 or 60 point ceiling is at least interesting in this spot where his usage is likely to go back up a little bit. Talk about usage. Brandon Ingram, no CJ McCollum. Without CJ, his usage is extremely high. He, is like 0.1 or 1.18 fantasy point per minute area. And versus this Nuggets team, he's going to be asked to do a lot if they stay in this game. Versus Dallas, he put up a 50 burger. Versus Houston, we got 45. Those are the scores. He is absolutely capable when he's the guy. And he's the guy right now. It is his team. DeMar DeRozan's another I like. He did sit out last game. It was for a personal reason. So he is likely back. And I think at 7,600, this is a guy that's just way too cheap, can regularly put up 40, 50 fantasy points, and give me that price discount. It is going to pay off sooner rather than later. And let's get over to DraftKings for their small forward ownership. We got Terrence Mann. Look, at 3,800, he is way too cheap. He's just not going to have much ownership, and we're really not sure how much he's going to play. He's already playing 28, 27 minutes, 29 minutes, and not really producing, with that. So I don't think it's going to be that much different going into the starting lineup where his usage is going to go down, not up. So I don't love Mann, but with how cheap he is at least of interest. I just don't love the ownership. Tobias Harris, I'm going to have a little bit. The thing with him is, at least on DraftKings, he's a little more playable because of where his salary is. He's in the mid-30s constantly, and he's in a good spot, so I absolutely get going there. And I would have more of him on DraftKings than on FanDuel. Porter, totally fine without Jamal Murray. You know, his usage is up. He's a little over a fantasy point per minute without Murray, and he's going to get the minutes in this spot. It's just whether this game stays close or not. And FanDuel. Oops. We'll start with the higher owned guys. John Collins, Jeremy Grant, Lauri Markkanen. John Collins is straight up just too cheap. $5,300 for a guy that is routinely in the 30s, and he's been playing center lately, which gives him a little bit more of a bump up. I can't believe his price fell more, frankly. So I'm all about John Collins at $5,300. I think it is a steal. The one thing with him is he is a pretty consistent player. He doesn't have that many like real true ceiling games though. So this is a spot where, with him routinely in the low 30s, I'm fine to go here and just take my 6X for a cheap price and move over. But there's the game theory aspect where you're not likely to get, say, 7-8X in this spot. So I can understand you wanting to fade it, but I'm going to play a lot of them. Jeremy Grant, we talked about. Markkanen, we talked about. So liked players. Only one we haven't talked about. Zion, very similar spot to Ingram. 50 point upside. He's like 1.3 fantasy point per minute without CJ McCollum. Obviously, we have no CJ McCollum, so he's in a good spot. I like him, don't love him, and will be playing him a little bit. Aaron Gordon, dude has been feasting without Jamal Murray there. Now his price is getting up there. $7,500 is about the tops I'm willing to go for him, I think. But he is a guy that has been routinely in the 40s lately and playing real solid minutes. And without Jamal Murray, he is over a fantasy per minute guy. So I understand, I do like him at these prices still. But starting to eat into his ceiling for this price. That is the only thing I can really say about him there. Now, power forward ownership for DraftKings. We got Mann, we got Harris, and Porter, all three of which we've gone over, so we don't really need to get into that. And center spot, Nikola Jokic, Jusuf Nurkic, John Collins, three highest owned guys. Not going to try and talk you off any of them. It does look like Bradley Beal will be missing the next 3 weeks. I just got an update on my phone about that one. So, Nurkic is still going to be a solid play. He's essentially the third guy in their three-headed monster right now. Jokic, dude, absolutely just crushes. Where else can you get, an 80-point ceiling? Or 90-point ceiling, have him regularly in the 70s, 80s. I will never try and talk you off Jokic. And getting over to FanDuel. Highest owned guys, Collins, Zach Collins, and Nurkic. Zach Collins, I'll have a little bit. Don't love him. I just think it's 6,400. There's just not that much ceiling. He is capable of 40, but he just doesn't play 38 minutes usually. He's usually around 30 minutes. And at 30 minutes, I don't see him getting to 40 often. So, like players here, we got John Collins. He is high owned, but I'm still going there. DeAndre Ayton, I think he's in a really good spot versus the Lakers. He has crushed the Lakers in the past, not so much this year. He didn't do great versus them, but it is a good matchup. The Lakers can give it up to center. However, they have been better versus center than years past. So maybe it's not quite as good of a matchup as it has been in the past, but I'm still going to go here. I think that if the Trailblazers are going to be in this game, it's largely going to be because Ayton's getting stuff done down low. Alperen Sengun versus the Clippers. I love this spot for him. And at 8,200, he can totally get into the 50s. He's a guy that can get you fantasy points through rebounds, assists, points. He can kind of do it all. So I really like the spot for him. He's playing plenty of minutes. And look, the Clippers got Zubac at center, and after that, they're pretty small. Zubac generally only plays like 28 minutes or so, so he's going to have a good matchup, for 10 minutes or so that he's out there, or 8 minutes or so. Zubac could play some extra minutes because they need somebody to guard Sengun. And if he does, Zubac becomes a option you may want to consider that will be low owned, but I don't love it. I do love Sengun in this matchup. So that'll do it for us today. A reminder just to pay attention to injuries. A lot is going to change throughout the day. Let's win some money. Good luck. I will see you back next week for the NBA DFS Slate Breakdown. And later today, I will have the NFL Slate Breakdown coming out. Adios, guys. Good luck. Peace.